Who are you writing your novel for? And who should you be writing your novel for? I'm going to answer those questions today for myself. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer them completely for you. I'm going to answer them for myself in today's video, and hopefully maybe that conversation will help you figure some things out as well, possibly. It's Sam with another Friday video for you, so I'm here just to talk about writing and all that stuff that goes along with it. If you've been following me for a little bit, I told you guys I was kind of doing a just a short series of like interrelated ideas. This is part 303. Part one actually is not much related to today. It's more like part two with a bridge between two different topics. So a couple weeks ago, I talked about inspirations for your story. What kind of stories inspired yours? You can go back and find that episode if you want to. Um, and I talked about how kind of the different worldviews of things I had read affected mine and poured into my story. Last week I talked about worldview in a more broad way about how that affects your story and what your worldview is and how you can convey that in your story without being preachy. And spoilers if you didn't know already, I am a Christian author, or some might say an author who is a Christian. I'm trying not to write fiction that's blatantly, overtly in your face Christian, like an Amish romance novel, but my worldview comes forth in my writing. So that will happen to you, whatever your worldview is, if you're writing from a place of honesty and of your just natural perspective. And today I want to answer the question of who are you writing in novel for, and I'll just remind you as a caveat, I am speaking as a Christian today. Doesn't mean if you're not a Christian that you can't watch it, and that you may not get anything from it. I hope you still will. But this message, I'll just be honest, today's message might speak more to my fellow Christians who are out there. Everyone's welcome to watch. I'm just saying this is my perspective, so I hope it's helpful to you. If not, then go find some of my other videos and watch those instead. But I kind of had to wrestle with this question of who you're writing a novel for and who are you publishing for. I mean, if I'm now on the journey of trying to get my novel published, and I've begun sending it out to publishers and stuff like that, and we'll see who if any responds to me. But I've honestly had to wrestle with this because let's be honest. I want to be published. I want people to read my story. I want people to like it. I want to be rich and famous. I know that publishing one novel does not automatically make you rich and famous, but we all have that idea from when you're kids of becoming a published author, and how how great that sounds, and maybe one day it could lead to some some riches and some fame, maybe not millionaire level, but hey, anyway. If I'm being honest, I want all those things, and I don't think any of those are bad. But as a Christian, I had to ask myself that question and realize, am I doing this for me or am I doing this for God? And I don't have an easy answer to that question. As a Christian, we want everything we do to be for God. We want God to have preeminence and authority over all areas of our lives. That includes hobbies or pursuits that may eventually become may eventually become a business or a large part of my life if I become a published author. I want God to have preeminence over that. And like I mentioned to you last week, I talked about worldview. My book, it's not overtly Christian, but I believe there's Christian themes and ideas in it. And if people read it, I want them to find a hope, and I want them to find the kind of hope that I believe in. And so I mean, I don't know how much people are actually influenced by the fiction they read. Maybe more than we think, maybe less than we think. But what I'm saying is, I want my writing to be for God's glory. I do. So I want I want it to be for more than just myself, and I hope it blesses people and accomplishes something good, maybe one day for God's kingdom. At the same time, if I told you right now, well, if I were to say I'm just writing the story completely for God, it's not about me at all. It's only for God and for His glory and for the benefit of the reader who reads it. If I said that today, I'd be lying. We all have mixed motives. We all have different desires at different times. So yeah, I got to admit, I want this to be for God's glory. I want good things to happen for my story. I want to bless people who read it. Yes, I also want fame and recognition for myself. I also want people to read and like my story because I'm an author, and that's what I like to happen. I also want, fame and riches or whatever accolades come from being an author for myself. So if I'm being honest, there's two sides to my motives. I mean, there's a selfish side, if you could call it that, and a maybe more selfless, godly side. And I mean, I think it's okay to have those intentions. I mean, in I have that for lots of other areas of my life, not just publishing. And so, um, if I ever become completely selfless, that'll be an achievement and also the work of God. But I don't expect to, I don't expect to reach 100% selfless in this lifetime, honestly. So basically, what I'm saying is, yes, I want this to be for God and for His glory. I also have selfish motives. I also have, my own motives, and I can't deny that. And if I wouldn't deny that if I was being honest. But I think God can still work and can still use us in our stories, even if even if we want fame and glory for ourselves and things like that. And I realized as I was writing, as I was publishing and starting to submit to publishers, I was like, I haven't really given this area of my life over to God, by which I mean I haven't really prayed about it much. I mean, maybe like offhand, like, oh yeah, God, please help this to work out, but not very seriously. I haven't really dedicated to God in that way. And I'm like, well, I do that for every other way. When I've applied for a job, which I mean, like filling out an author application. Some of them even say it's a little like your job application when you submit a book because they're deciding if they want to do business for you or with you. When I've applied for jobs in the past, I've always prayed for those because I needed a job and needed God's direction there and needed His provision in many times. And obviously some areas of my life that are arguably less important or at least less huge than publishing a book. Things like where am I going to live, or things like the daily struggles of parenting. I pray about those things, which is good. I'm glad I do. But I realized I hadn't really prayed about this. I just kind of started doing it on my own, and I've always assumed I would do it, and I've always wanted to do it. But I kind of just started doing it, and hadn't really prayed about it much, and hadn't really given it to God. So that's all I'm saying today to myself, and also to any of you if that helps. But what I'm saying, I guess, is I want to give this area of my life to God, and I want Him to use it for His glory. And yes, if I'm being honest, I want some of that fame and glory too. But I want to do the right thing for the Lord, and to let this be His work in my life. When and if it comes to publishing and gets however much success it does or doesn't get, um, I want it to be I want it to be from God. So that's all I'm saying today. Um, yeah, I realized I hadn't prayed about it much, and I didn't want to go too much further in the submitting to publishers process without dedicating this to God. So I'm gonna start, or at least try to. I'm gonna start praying for, if it's God's will, and if this is part of His plan for me and for any others who might read my book, that He would allow it to find the right publisher, and that it would bless the people who He has arranged for it to bless, and that'll be His work and His hand guiding me. Because I believe He can do that, and He certainly at times has probably worked through books, even in fiction, I believe, to accomplish His purposes. So I believe He can, and still does, and hopefully, prayerfully, He will with mine. If you are a praying person, if you are a fellow Christian, I'd ask you to pray for me as well, because I want to do this well, and I want to, again, do it in a way that glorifies God, not just me, not primarily me. Um, you know, if I become if I do become if you do become published and do become even marginally famous, I still want to be honest about God gets the glory, and I'm doing this for God. So yeah, what I'm saying is, on this journey, wherever it goes, wherever it ends up, however it goes, I want to give it to God. So here we are. I'm doing my best to give it to God, trying to write my novel for Him, not solely for me. Pray for me. I'm going to pray for myself too on this journey, and for God's will to be done. Thank you so much for watching. If that helped you, great. Hope it did. If not, again, go check out some of my other videos. I have 2 years worth of them now in my my archives and the YouTube channel and all that stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening today. Have a great weekend, everyone. Keep writing. Keep doing your thing. God bless. Bye.